And about the first port he came to was Surabaya. This was 1770 something. And as he was going past the eastern tip of Java, I think it's near, I forgot exactly what the port is, but his journal says the sea is floating with dead pigs. What? Yeah, floating with dead pigs. So, I mean, what happened? Did they come along and say, and actually there's a very nice Malay story, the beautiful Malay story, where someone from the East Coast, they come along and the Muslim Mubalik comes along and they said, okay, we all agree to be Muslims, come back next week. In the meantime, they have this feast, they eat all the pigs. And then he comes back, okay, now we're Muslims. But I've often wondered, why was that harbor floating with dead pigs when Captain Bligh came? Because that's about the time when conversion of that area to Islam was taking place.
So that's documented? That's not just...
That's in Bligh's journal. Yeah.
Wow, because we know that the pig is the most common domesticated meat animal all over this part of the world. And how they disappeared here is all, well, it's kind of obvious Muslim killed them. The Muslims got rid of them, but there was no, I didn't know there was any documentary.
It's in there. I can probably still find the spot. It's somewhere in Bligh's journal when he reaches the eastern Java. Dead pigs floating.
Who else? Anybody else?
Thank you. I'm interested in process of Islamization in Java, and sometimes you always say like the word like syncretism or inculturism, and I'm neither Java nor Islam, and I come from Catholic tradition, and in Catholic tradition the topic about inculturation or acculturation is very important to be discussed, how the teaching of the Bible can reach the people clearly according to or based on their culture. And I don't have any ideas about these topics in Islam, especially in Islamization process in Java.
That whole history is fascinating. The connection between spreading a religion and then deepening people's understanding of religion on the one hand, and the relationship to local culture. If we go back to the 19th century, we can distinguish several groups. One group is the Protestant missionaries, and the Europeans. These people delightfully called the Saints of Surabaya. You know, I love this term. The Saints of Surabaya. Well, they basically were hostile to Javanese culture. They thought, if you want to become a Christian, you have to really break a lot of Javanese culture. They had very little success, converted very few people. The second group was the Islamic reformers in that period, people influenced by more reform ideas of Islam coming out, against superstitions and all the rest. In many cases, they too were hostile to local Javanese culture. They had successes, they had more success than the missionaries, that's for sure, but they did not overwhelm the society. The third group, you would think of as the traditionalist Islamic teachers. They, on the whole, were supported the local Javanese culture, still are, and Nata Ulama has a lot to do with local Javanese culture. They worked in local languages, they were certainly not confrontative towards local culture, and they remain the dominant form of Islam in the countryside. The fourth group, in some ways the most remarkable ones, were the local Javanese Christians. Now, some of those conversions were by magic. There's this great guy, Kiai Ibrahim Tungguwulu. I mean, the Bible came to him magically, he said. He was a hermit in Mount Kaluk. The Bible came to him magically. He had these magic arts, and he went around teaching people the way he had thousands of converts. The Saints of Surabaya thought he was a heretic. They really disapproved of his teachings. But there were other people like that. So you've got some people in favor, some people against. At the very end of the century, because of course the Catholics were always discriminated against in Holland. It was a Protestant country. Catholics did not have equal rights as citizens and stuff until well into the 19th century. And the Catholic Church was not allowed to send missions to Java until the 1890s. But when they came with this Jesuit tradition, which goes back to Matteo Ricci in China, of accommodating the local culture. So right from the beginning, the great Jesuit figure, Fan Li, said we will embrace Javanese culture. Javanese Catholic church and had the mass performed with the gamelan playing. It was done in Javanese. They set up a school in Muntilan, and all the little kids came in as Muslims. They all went out as Catholics. Education was a conversion thing. One place you should go is Ganjaran Church. Ganjaran is remarkable, because here's a church which is built in the 1930s, actually, but it has a chandi. Many old Japanese chandi, and the patong, where the statue in the middle, looks like a Japanese king, but it's Christ with the Sacred Heart. Inside the church, I don't know the state of the church. I was told
Totally destroyed.
I was told it was destroyed.
There's a temporary bamboo structure, but the church itself was completely.
That's what I heard. But for example, the altar angels in the church before it was destroyed were like wayang thieves. It's very beautiful. But here was an embrace of Japanese.